Hi. I don't know that I've ever really seen a TV show take on, or not take on, but explore religion in such a sense as Caprica is. And I think you guys have managed to skew it enough so that it's not obviously, like the STO is not obviously one particular religion. But I just wondered if the network, if you guys have gotten any flack for your portrayal of religion.
No, it was the opposite.
It was the opposite, which was one of the amazing things. I mean, very early on in the process when we did Galactica, I've told this story many times, wrote the first draft of the Galactica miniseries, and when I was writing it, there was a scene between Baltar and number 6, and just something I found on the page, I just had number 6 say, "God is love" to Baltar, and I really didn't know what that meant or why she would say it, and I just thought, well, that's an interesting, odd thing for a robot to say, let's go with that. And when the draft went into the network, there was an executive at the time named Michael Jackson, no relation, who gave this note that said, that's a fascinating idea, and you've already got these sort of metaphors and allegories to Al-Qaeda and religious fanaticism with the Cylons, go more in that direction. And I thought, I will never get this note again from a network to put more religion into a show, so I'm going for it. And it just became part of what Galactica was. And in all the years that I've been working on this series, on both these series, I've never had a note from the network that really challenged this as a fundamental part of the show, or the political commentary on the show. You know, we have our battles, but our battles tend to be things about ADR, graphic content, you know, how much blood you're going to show, how nude are they really going to be, you know, what a particular scene is about, how complicated the show is. But
not about the important stuff.
They've never really gone at us for the important stuff, and that's a tribute to SyFy. I mean, it's really an amazing place to do this kind of work.
The great subplot, by the way, to the Michael Jackson story is he had already either been fired or resigned and was on his way back to London. So it was one of those things where it was like,
here's how to sync them.
Whatever you guys want to do. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Mark, are there any internal discussions about this stuff that David and Ron never hear about because it doesn't get?
They're really, you know what? They're privy to a lot of those discussions. I think that we're very I think early on we knew that we wanted to really go for it with this show. There have definitely been times when we're on the phone with them and I'm like, okay, we're just gonna go. Mostly around the season breaks, where it's like, okay, we're gonna, and this is a spoiler alert for Battlestar, but it's like, we're going to jump to a year later, and you're like, sounds like a good idea. But honestly, I would say that not about the politics, and the sex stuff actually surprised me too. It's like, okay, we're going to let the spines glow, and okay, if no one in New York is okay with it, I'm okay with it. It's really mostly been about drug use and things of that nature more than anything.
Yeah, not to make this, you know, a mutual admiration society, because it is true, we fight like cats and dogs, but I would say one of the advantages, and I wish more networks and producer relationships kind of understood this intuitively, the advantages to being on the same page about what the vision of the show is. Going all the way back to the earliest conversations, which began with, both on the network side and on our side, why does the world need another space opera, to go back to Battlestar? Why is it necessary? There's Star Trek, there are 18 Star Treks, there are 50, you know, rip-offs of Star Treks. Why does, and the fact that the network had an agenda to have that question answered before we were going to move forward, and we had the agenda ourselves, like we didn't want to work on another Star Trek, that wasn't what we wanted either. I would say that informed everything that happened for the next 5 years. And there's a level of trust that takes place. I've given Mark credit for this in the past. Situations like Ron and I are pitching the season 3 finale, and we're all excited because we've come up with what it is. It's not going to be they shoot at Dama. It's not going to be 1 year later. It's whether Baltar's guilty or innocent. It's going to be a courtroom drama like you've never seen before on Battlestar Galactica. And there was sort of this like silence on the other end of the phone, and Mark was like, "Really? That's it?" and I was actually doing a little Caprica homework recently. I was going back and looking at some of the old episodes, and I was watching that season 3 finale. And now when you look at it, it's like, is Baltar guilty or innocent? It's like, who gives a shit? That's like a half hour before the thing's over, you know? And so, but I don't think that sort of give and take would exist if there hadn't been in the very earliest DNA stages this sense of we're making the same show. We'll disagree about 500 things in the details, but we're making the same show. And that's where I think you avoid the big problems.
That's true, actually. The 1 year later was my idea.
I just want to say one quick thing about I got flack, actually, from 2 areas. I have fundamentalists in my family. And I got some flack from somebody saying, oh, no, you know, because they think that being a terrorist and being into one God is somehow painting them in a bad light. And I try to say, no, it's not about one or the other. It's, you know, one person's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter. I hate to say that, but it's the truth. And, you know, she slows down, but they get confused. They're not sure if this is insulting to them or not.
That's, by the way, that's the beauty of SyFy, right? Is that you're just far enough to the left so that you can't really pin it on one particular thing. Yeah. You can't just say, well, this is clearly they're doing this or that. And I think the brilliant thing that these guys have done, starting with Battlestar, was making the polytheists the good guys, and the bad guys were the ones who believed in the one true God. And so then that spins you automatically, because it's like, wait, I'm on the bad guy's side. That can't be right. And so I think automatically it puts you off kilter, and I think then once you're off kilter, you can get in there with a whole bunch of other things to talk about.